Hey folks, Phil Gallagher here for another dose of daily D&T. I'm pretty pumped up about Charming Prince right now. So this is still September 29th for me. So thank you to whoever supported the next set of daily D&T. I don't know who you are at the time of recording, but it is much appreciated, and I'll throw your name down in the description. So once every year or so, I get the idea that I should try out two-drop taxes again. And by that I mean a D&T deck where almost all of your creatures are at CMC 2 so that you basically never tick your vial up to 3. One of the problems with two-drop taxes is that like Flicker Wisp is always just so good that you don't really ever want to end up playing that build. But now we have Charming Prince to try out, and that makes me want to like try this idea once again. So there's going to be a handful of non-traditional cards in this list to kind of fill out some slots. So if you look at some of these numbers, we have a whopping 4 Charming Prince, a main deck Aethersworn Canonist to kind of fill out our slots, a whopping 4 Serra Avenger, 2 Telemic, 2 Revokers. We're keeping the recruiters in here just because they're so good with Charming Prince and they give us some ability to end game grind. But we're dropping the silver bullets that recruiter can find from the main deck. So we're going to try to put the jailers and the prelates in the sideboard and see how that feels. It's very possible that like the jailer should be in the main deck over this Aethersworn Canonist. But I just want to try like a very lean, very two-drop heavy build and see how this feels. The sideboard is about normal for D&T. I have a second jailer in the board. Or well, I guess I have 2 jailers in the board more accurately because I think that card's pretty powerful right now. And if I'm not going to put it in the main deck, I definitely want it here. And to make room for that, I cut the other Chalice of the Void that I was playing. So let's go ahead and jump into a league and see how we feel. Not rally or control. That's for tomorrow night. I want two-drop taxes 2019. Nope, not import. Two-drop taxes 2019. Submit, play points, join, battle. I gotta get another trophy. I fell off the leaderboard already. Let's see if we can do that in this video with this unique and interesting deck list. We were pretty okay. We have an early source of plowshares for if we're playing against something like Delver. Then we have a curve of Thalia into Stoneforge into Equip, or Thalia into Stoneforge into Avenger. So this one is definitely going to be a keep. Alright, maybe lands or loam. Molten Vortex, you say? That is going to be a little bit obnoxious. But this Aether Vial actually helps out a ton. It may not immediately look like it does against Molten Vortex, but it's going to mean that I'm going to have an easier time vialing in Stoneforge and getting it equipped. Also, really hoping that my opponent doesn't have like a life from the loam to just like keep fueling this forever. Giver of Runes, very noticeably worse than Mother of Runes in this situation. I think I'm just going to ram my Stoneforge Mystic out here and get my Sword of Fire and Ice. Getting that card into play, either just by hard casting it or by putting it in with Stoneforge, I think is going to be really important to me winning this game. Molten Vortex is kind of a bear to fight through. The goal is to get this Sword of Fire and Ice onto Sarah Avenger. Once that happens, we'll have my opponent on a 3-turn clock, maybe a 2-turn clock if they do some fetching. My opponent is in such good shape if they have a loam, though. Good lord. We will go ahead and put the Giver of Runes in play. Now the question becomes, do I just put a Thalia in play? I think that I do, to make it more taxing on my opponent to actually cast. Well, it depends on whether or not they have a land in hand still. Okay, I think I do. But I do it in their draw step. Like, I let them figure out what they're doing with their Sylvan Library. Hopefully they have, like, a Life from the Loam, no other lands in hand, and then this Thalia throws them off their game, or at least taxes their mana enough so that on their next turn, or sorry, on my next turn, I can Violent Avenger and equip it. Nice. Okay, so now unless they have 2 more lands remaining in hand, we probably get to take over this game. They do have 2 lands. This kind of sucks, but we can try again next turn, and basically every turn forever until we manage to get something equipped. If I had 1 more land, I could have, like, basically guaranteed this by, like, porting down a mana source. Nice. Now, this doesn't mean I'm anywhere near out of the woods yet, because I still very much have to fear just, like, a crop rotation for a Maze of Ith. And then, like, once they find a loam, they just like ghost quarter away my port. And I'm sad. So a blast zone instead. That's a bit of a nuisance. But my opponent's pretty tight on mana. And if they don't find a loam here in maybe about the next turn cycle, I could potentially just aggro them out. Yeah, well, that's going to be the loam. Alright, this game is probably going to be tight enough where I actively need to keep track of this. Alright. So they get Thicket, other Thicket, and Grove. Let's just say always no to that for now. Okay. So my opponent has Molten Vortex activations available to them. How am I winning this game? I'm winning this game by connecting either with a Serra Avenger with Sword of Fire and Ice on it, or two separate Serra Avengers next turn. If I play Thalia, Thalia does nothing. I can hard cast an Avenger. Port down a Blast Zone. Play a Thalia. And that all seems pretty good. That might be better than just playing Recruiter. Although Recruiter can find Revoker, and I can revoke Molten Vortex. That seems pretty okay. If they have a Punishing Fire or they dredge into a Punishing Fire, though, that line isn't great. So it might just be better to try and go wide via Avenger and Thalia. I guess my opponent could theoretically get rid of that by discarding 3 lands to Molten Vortex, and they already have 2 already, but that would cost them 2 of their mana. Loam would cost them 2 more mana. They played land. So if they were to answer all 3 of those things, they would be dead on board. This play is great to everything but Punishing Fire. I think I'm going to go ahead and take that line. So my opponent will probably throw a land at Recruiter in response. And that's totally fine. Ooh, they are not. That may mean that they have the Punishing Fire. Or are hoping to get around to a Punishing Fire. Alright, are they going to dredge the loam here? They are. I don't really care about the Ancient Tomb all that much. That's okay. They could potentially get some redraws, but the redraws are going to be expensive. So I know they still have the, what is it, Sheltered Thicket. So that can be used for a redraw, but at 2 mana, that then doesn't give them a lot of outs afterwards. So now, I know that Sheltered Thicket. Oh, and they got Loam with it. Okay. So they Loam back, Forest, Thicket. Okay, they have a Mox Diamond. That helps their math out a bit. Can they crop rotation for a maze now? No. So now, Sword aside, they're just dead to 5 power on board. Yep. All right. Good stuff. Thank you, 4X Sarah Avenger. You were super clutch there. All right. Surgicals, get in here. Rips, get in here. I'll probably play Path to Exile over Swords to Plowshares. I'll play Sanctum Prelate. We'll consider Jailer and Council's Judgment, but those start getting into the looser territory. So I don't think lands was one of the ones that I did for my cheat sheet anymore. Right? No. So let's figure out what I want to do. Some number of the Swords to Plowshares are being replaced by Path to Exile and Palace Jailer. That's an easy starting point. Jitte is not really good in this matchup. That can go. Giver's so much worse than Mom in this matchup for the most part, because if your opponent has Punishing Fire, they Punishing Fire the Giver one turn, and then what you want to protect the next. And if my opponent is playing Molten Vortex as well, this loses out on a lot of its utility. You do gain the ability to protect from something like Maze of Ith, but I think we're just going to have to let that portion of the deck go. Prince is fine to protect stuff. Canonist is definitely medium. Like, it has some utility, but probably not where I want to be. And then I need to decide how many answers to things do I want versus how many creatures do I want to leave in the deck. So All these things are definitely coming in, and then some of these are questionable. Ballast Jailer is largely going to be a one-sided Howling Mine if I can get it into play, but it is kind of an if, so maybe I don't want two. I'll just like throw one of those in the deck. And Council's Judgment is nice at eating things like Molten Vortex, but my opponent isn't always going to have that, and this oftentimes will be kind of a dead card. But it's an additional answer to like some things like a Merit Lodge token as well. So like I maybe want to play that anyway. I really want to leave my creature count very high if my opponent is going and playing Molten Vortex. We go to a game 3, I'll put my Vial back in when I'm on the play and probably sub like a Council's Judgment out. Snapkeep. Great hand is great. We'll try to use the Surgical before we use the Rest in Peace, but we'll see whether or not that's actually what ends up happening. Opponent is mulliganed. I keep this one. No, we are not prepared to just beat a quick Merit Lodge. Probably take off that draw step stop. Oh boy. What am I doing here? I kind of want to threaten the Batterskull next turn. I don't really want to play my Thalia because I want to have the flexibility of playing my Rest in Peace ASAP. So let's threaten the Batterskull. I can slam Rest in Peace. My opponent will return Punishing Fire in response. I can Surgical it in response, but that doesn't really seem all that good. I'd kind of just like to play my Aether Vial. And then if I get a chance to surgically extract the Punishing Fire when my opponent returns it, I will. But I think they'll probably play around Surgical. What are you thinking about it? I'll do it. Do it. Yeah. Okay, so we have Drop of Honey, Force of Vigor, and Life from the Loam left. So only 3 Punishing Fires. We saw a 1 of Molten Vortex last game. It's good to know that it is just a 1 of. So we can't keep our opponent off of Life from the Loam. Sylvan Library is going to be so good for them. I also probably need to hold this Rest in Peace until after they use the Force of Vigor. Elvish Reclaimer. Okay. That is a 1 of in their deck. So now there's some tension because the combo kill also is going to be threatened relatively quickly. Oh man, please, please pitch a card to get rid of my Aether Vial. I would be so happy. Drop of Honey, Force of Vigor, Life from the Loam, plus whatever they get for turn. I'm at 23. I can take a Merit Lodge hit, but I don't have a formal answer to one right now. Yep. Will you activate it now, though? No. I gain a lot of flexibility here. I need my opponent to not produce the Merit Lodge. Since I can't beat that right now, how do I get them to not produce the Merit Lodge? I need to leave a Wasteland up in order to do that. So I can't just tap out for Sanctum Prelate. I really wish I had a land. That is not the world that I'm in. So more generally, I need to just draw like a Swords to Plowshares, right? So a Revoker, a Swords to Plowshares, a Council's Judgment, a Path to Exile, a Swords to Plowshares. Those are the things that I'm looking for. think I just have to pass the turn. Yeah. Actually, real questions for a second. Do I just wasteland? Oh, never mind. Okay, they're getting a cycling land. I was about to say, do I if they just get a colored source, do I just wasteland? Or sorry, if they got a colorless source, do I just like immediately snap wasteland the only remaining red source? Sure. This game is gonna get real weird real quick. So my opponent can grow Elvish Reclaimer into a 3/4. I can maybe use the drop of honey to kill their Elvish Reclaimer. If they don't, oh god, this is so complicated. Okay. So a lot of it is going to depend on whether or not they try to kill my Stoneforge Mystic with the Grove of the Burn Willows, but I can't proactively wasteland that because doing so would mean that if they activate it, it grows to a 3/4. And then I can't use like Charming Prince to blink out the Stoneforge. So I think I go activate Stoneforge. And I put in my sword instead of the Batterskull. So then they okay, so they're not going to Molten Vortex in response. If they Molten Vortex in response to my equip, I'm good to go. Because then their drop of honey kills their own Elvish Reclaimer. I need to tick my vial up to 3 now, I think. Ah, fudge. I was really hoping they would let me put my Sanctum Prelate in to get rid of that. That's fine. I think I'm just going to be letting that go. Yeah, I think I have to let that go. Okay, so now what? I believe I just need to pass the turn. It's the weirdest game against lands I've played in a long time. My opponent has a number of one-ofs here. Or, sorry, the Force of Vigor is a two-of. A number of fringe cards all at the same time that are really causing a warped game state here. This is extremely complicated. So I'm guessing my opponent will get rid of Sheltered Thicket to get a Wasteland. Nope, to get a forest. That I am okay with. So now I put in my Batterskull. My Stoneforge dies. Two red sources can mean that my opponent can get rid of the Batterskull Germ, or alternatively, they can trade Elvish Reclaimer and one land for it. Eh. That's quite good. So now my opponent can rotate that. So I can Reclaimer that into... Oh, no. Okay. You have the win some other way? Or you're just going to loam it back? Sure. Drop of honey is power. So if I play a rest in peace, there's no chance of this Reclaimer living through the next turn. But then they will probably use it to get Dark Depths. I'm going to go ahead and attack into the Reclaimer. Like, the more information I get about what's going to happen, the better. Not Dark Depths, please. If they're playing toward the long game, which it seems like they're doing, it may not make sense to get depths. But if they're trying to end this as quickly as possible because they feel threatened, then getting depths here is really good before, like, they lose the Reclaimer. Okay. That's fine. Okay, yeah, that's okay. Okay. So now, I'll slam this Rest in Peace. And the Elvish Reclaimer is going to die. Right? Power. Power. So, putting a Thalia in play to limit follow-ups is probably good. Porting them and taking them off their only green source is also pretty okay. Porting them, though, like, incentivizes them to activate Elvish Reclaimer, and I really don't want them to do that. Great. Great. All right. 2 Batterskull Love Taps. That's all we need. We have the port to make it happen. The graveyard's shut off. Thalia is not necessarily getting through for damage, though. Fudge. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now I tap down the Maze of Ith. No, I guess I play Caracas. Tap down the Maze of Ith. Attack in with both. They can't really stage. I get 6 damage in, probably. Then play out a Sanctum Prelate, sacrifice my Thalia during their turn. Alternatively, I just... No, I don't think I want to lose to a Wasteland. So I think I'm going to give up a creature here. So that I actually get rid of the Merit Lodge. And this line just absolutely screams, I have an answer to your 2020. So I don't know that they can actually make the block. Like, I'll find out. are going for it. That's fine. This is actually the best possible world for us. Because now we lose the Batterskull Germ, but the drop of honey goes away at their upkeep. Or sorry, it goes away now. That, in fact, means that I can just play another creature out. Let's scry. These cards are great. I'm going to bottom the Council's Judgment, top the Recruiter. The Recruiter should give us an answer to just about anything. Ooh, going to 4. I can port down the Maze of Ith, attempt to attack for 2, probably gain a life off my opponent's Molten Vortex, then play a Recruiter or Prelate. I think that's better than just going for a win and potentially dying. Like, my opponent took damage. They have to have something. So I'm just scared of losing to a Merit Lodge at this point, I guess. I think getting Jailer and getting Revoker are both good here. Revoker stopping Molten Vortex from killing any of my creatures means that 2 turns down the line I have potential lethal. They can crop rotation Maze of Ith away for a Dark Depths to produce a 20/20 next turn. Ooh, no, Blast Zone. Okay. I don't know if Blast Zone is going to be fast enough for what you need it to do. So what if I go for Equip here? I go for Equip, and they have a land, which presumably they do, so they didn't die. That is not great for me. I mostly just don't want to give them multiple bodies. What if their last card is Crop Rotation? If their last card is Crop Rotation, they Crop Rotation away Forest, they make a 20/20. I will have gained 5 life. I will be at 36. I can Caracas away the Merit Lodge. Oh man, I wish I had a lot more time to think about this spot because it's super interesting. I'm going to guess that they don't have a land. The guess is wrong. That's fine. Again, their resources are super taxed right now. So we'll see if they blow up my rest in peace. Nope, they just nug my prelate. That's fine. They want to blow it up. They can blow it up right here. I think I'm going to have to give them a 2-for-1, unfortunately. No, I'm not. So I guess I get rid of their Molten Vortex here. They'll lose their Sylvan Library when they blow up my stuff on X equals 2. I think my equipment's already gone. Control. Activate Stoneforge Mystic. Hold priority. Bounce Batterskull. We do that so I don't get blown out by the blast zone in response. What a match, folks. What a match. In the last minute or two there was probably some things that I could have done a little bit tighter or explained a little bit better, but the clock was a ticking. I hope you enjoyed that one, and I feel real good about that one. That's a great way to start off a league.